Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some pathofexile 1 discussion. Today, I wanted to do a bulk divination card turn-in. This is one of my favourite divination cards in the game, and I might be just a little bit biased because I am the person who commissioned it. Now, this divination card turns in for an all-offensive chess piece, Skin of the Loyal. This is something that doesn't really have much in the way of defenses, but there's a number of builds that just don't really care about defense, they just want to do maximum damage. And honestly, the 100% global defenses can be a little bit of a defensive boost as well. But primarily, you're using this for +1 to the level of all socketed gems, and the fact that with it being double corrupted, you can end up getting quite a lot more. Additionally, this got gigabuffed in patch 3.29. So in the past, gem sockets were restrictive, now they're a bonus. In the past, if you wanted to use a red socket, you had to put a red gem in it, even if the best support gem for your build was green. Now with the new system, if you can put a red gem in there, that's great, but you don't actually need to, and you can still function without it. Additionally, the price of loyalty gives you Skin of the Loyal. Skin of the Loyal is almost exclusively used in conjunction with Empower support, and Empower support gains absolutely nothing from being in a red gem socket now. You used to have to put it in a red socket, and so any time that you didn't get a red socket, which wasn't that common, but it was something that came up like 1 in 11, 1 in 12 times, you ended up with a brick skin. Now, that skin is just as good as another one. So, let's turn these in 6 at a time, see what we get. Fun fact, the first one of these that I turned in this league, so you'll see I've bought 72 sets here. First one of these I turned in this league, I ended up getting a 137 Divine Orb monster from. That was +1 unconditional gems, +2 to Minion gems, and it sold pretty quickly at that price. So, firstly, this is a mid-tier one. We're going to get a lot of these. You'll see here that we've got 1 Vile Implicit Corruption, +2 to the level of socketed projectile gems that provides damage. Then we have 6% increased maximum life. There is nothing wrong with life as an implicit on a chest, it just doesn't really synergize that well. Additionally, this is a 2-2-2 split, which is very flexible for gem colors. So this one's okay, and it's not anything great. It probably won't actually make more than it costs to trade for the cards, but we're looking for the jackpots here, and so we'll keep going. Duration gems and fizz damage reduction while stationary. You'll see that there's a number of defensive corruptions we'll get a bunch of. They're pretty much all trash. Here we have Warcry gems and a defensive one. Warcry gems is one of the +2s that is actually a bit of a dud. So this is actually a double dud. Even though it looks like this has one of the good corruptions and one of the useful but not what you're using Skin of the Loyal for corrupts, that's not really the case here. This one is just a double dud because there's just not many Warcries that benefit from being scaled up in level. +2 AoE gems and one of the genuinely good defensive corruptions here, 50% reduced extra damage from critical strikes, which is always 50%, it's not a scale. This is reasonable. This is among the better of the ones that don't really hit that hard. So it's not a double gem level one, but it's still fine. And here we've got +2 to level of socketed duration gems and 45% increased damage. Note that's not 45% more damage, that's increased. So it's additive with other sources of increased damage on your character. Solid, but again, we haven't hit a jackpot yet. And this is a double dud. This one is complete and utter rubbish. So 4% increased maximum life and 5% physical damage reduction while stationary. We don't want either of those mods, and that one is a complete and utter brick. So we have the ones that are pretty much duds go there, and the ones that are not complete duds are going to go up here. At the moment, we'll grab another 6 and we will try again. Price-wise on this gamble, this cost me something of the order 120 divines, and I am up 135 from the first one I turned in, which was not part of this. +2 to level of aura gems is solid, but again, it's with a non-synergistic thing on it. This one is so close. This one is a miss because it is Warcries. +1 and +2 together is what you're looking for, or +2 and +2, but the +2 synergize. Unfortunately though, Warcries are not one of the ones that you really care about most of the time. Now, this is the sort of thing I tend to put aside, and I do price these high, just in case it's best in slot for some niche build that someone's playing. However, it's not something I have high expectations for. I don't think this will sell, but I'm also not going to sell it cheap. Again, we've got +2 duration gems, 50% increased damage, which is fine. And these ones are all nothing to really write home about. Here we go. +2 to the level of AoE gems, +2 to the level of aura gems. This one has 222 socket colors, which is very manageable, especially given the flexibility we talked about with Empower. This is the best one yet. There are a number of aura gems that are actually damaging, and these are mostly the native mine gems. So, Pyroclast Mines. This is a Pyroclast Mines chest, and really that is where it shines. One thing I need to research before actually trying to price this is what Pyroclast Mines is currently doing with a number of other setups and support gems and the like, how important gem quality is. So this one requires some research, but it is a genuinely very, very good hit, whereas this one and this one are mid-tier, and these ones are not complete dumpster, but not good. And speaking of complete dumpster, yeah, that's pretty much dumpster. Even though 42% increased damage is a fine mod, it's just not what you're looking for here. Oops, that one is mid. So that's the +2 duration with a sort of secondary live corrupt on it. This one's mid and this one's extraordinary. So extraordinary can go down here, alongside some originator maps that I'm just sitting on for some reason. Trying to remember why I have them there. Anyways, let's grab another 6 and just go back to Lily Roth. The shortcut that I'm using here is I am holding Shift Control Alt when I click her, and that brings up the divination card window immediately. Trapple Mine Gems, nothing else. Double Dud, those ones are always funny. War Cries and nothing, because again, even though 6% increased DS is fine, it's not what we're after. This one's mid. Again, it's +2 with the damage corrupt. The damage corrupt is fine. Duration and Warcry is one that I'm going to put aside. I think that this is another one of those ones that's a miss. But again, sometimes someone finds a use for specific combinations. And there's an intrinsic degree of power in just having +4 there. Because remember, you've also got +1 on the gem. And you would always use this in conjunction with Empower support. Now this one, we're going to have a look to see if it's any good or not. But the colors are one of those things. Actually, this is true for this one as well. And this one. These colors are ones that could not have used Empower prior to 3.29, but can use Empower now. Here we have minions, traps, or mines. I don't think this actually works. I cannot think of any combination where you have minion gems that are also traps and mines. However, I'm not absolutely confident that there is no esoteric weird case for that. So again, there's one that we price high with no intention of being likely to sell, because if it is the case that someone has a use for it, and it might be extraordinarily good for them. These ones, however, Warcry Gems, we have Traps and Mines, and we have this one. These are all trash. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and back to it. +2 minions, 42% increased damage. That one is fine, not extraordinary, but fine. That one, however, is trash. So let's just put these ones. I'm marking them down by 1 notch if they're usable. At the top if they're trash, and right down the bottom if they're genuinely good. Aura and Curse is unfortunate. I don't think there is anything that can use both of those. But again, just being +2/+2, I'm going to put it aside. +1 Unconditional is the best individual corrupt you can get because Empower is always used in conjunction with this. But unfortunately, 5 maximum energy shield, 5% shield is just not good enough. So that one is going to be just in the middling tier. This one here, Traps and Mines, 4% life. It's essentially a single corrupt. A good single corrupt, but a single corrupt. Now, Duration and Minion. There are Duration Minion gems, and they can be quite good sometimes. So this one, I think, might be extraordinary for someone. I'm not sure off the top of my head what that might be. Possibly summon skeletons or something along those lines. But there are, and Summon Raging Spirits maybe, although they tend to want other chests. I definitely want to price this one high and see what happens with it. And so I'm going to consider this to be a good hit. And these to be all sort of marginals. And then we have the dumpster tier one, of which there are going to be many, as we go and we grab another set. Duration and Curse is unfortunate because not many things scale off curses. I am going to consider this to be +4 to a number of gems, but at the same time, it's also just not a very synergistic setup because +2 to the level of socketed curse gems is not as good as it sounds. Traps and Mines, that's just 1 defensive corruption, which we don't really care about. And Ink AoE, but the other mod is terrible. Auras, but the other mod is terrible. Duration, but with a good second mod on it. That's at the better end. And this one's not very good. But actually, it's funny, nothing in this lot was actual total and utter trash. So everything here is going to go into the pool of probably not very good, but have some, at least have some potential. These ones, whereas some of the other ones just don't really have that potential at all. And then we'll go and get to our halfway point. Now, as we approach the halfway point, I also want to plug a player-run event that is coming up, which is BPL. BPL is an event that was put on originally by then streamer Badger, who now actually works for Grinding Gear Game, is in sound design, but he's passed on the torch to other people. BPL is a big player-run scavenger hunt event. It's a lot of fun, and it's something that's, I think, is at its best if you're someone whose Path of Exile skill level is like, you're pretty good at the game, you know all the basics, you can get your 4 Void Stones yourself reasonably easily, but there's a bunch of things you want to learn a lot more about from experienced players. You'll be put onto a team with people with a lot of experience, including some of the best racers in the game tend to play it, and then you'll be hunting to try and get pretty much every unique item in the game before the other teams can achieve that same goal. So that's coming up, not this weekend, but next weekend. I'm unfortunately not going to be able to play it because the timing is just awful for me, but hopefully it will be something that you can get along to if you're interested. A bunch of duds there, except for this one is like +2 socketed duration gems, 50% increased damage is quite nice. +1 socketed gems, we just can't seem to get +1 in conjunction with a relevant +2. Note that there's not much weighting when it comes to the Vile Implicit Corruptions. The only one of them that is different in rarity is the Chaos Resistance one, and that is rarer than the rest, even though you probably don't want it. So that's basically where we stand as far as the rarity of these goes. And we're still looking for that magical +1 and relevant +2, which we should get. Numerically, you would expect to get multiple of them in this number of Skin of the Lords sets. Or Skin of the Loyal, sorry, sets. Minion gems and Ally Resist is just a defensive corrupt. +1, but with a dud. War Cries, that's a complete brick. Complete and utter trash one. Durations, and yeah, that's another one with not much on it. Another one with not much on it. And another one with pity that we got the 50% reduced extra damage, which is a nice mod, but it's alongside War Cries, which, yeah, they're unfortunate. And these are the ones that are basically a good single corrupt over here. Lots of good single corrupt chests that probably won't end up selling for any sort of markup, but might end up moving. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. There's a big one. There's a big one. So this is +1 all unconditional gems, +2 auras. Note that, again, a number of mines are actually auras, so this is better than it sounds. And this has a lot of synergy. You've got a lot of flexibility with those socket colors, and again, you're not required to actually perfectly fit the socket colors. So this is a very, very, very strong chess piece, one that will probably sell for quite a bit. I'll have to price check that one, but I can see it going well. And again, 2 in a row. Projectile gems and socketed gems. This is probably actually better. This might be as good as that original Minions one that I got. These are top tier, back to back. Back to back to back. Trap or Mines, +1 unconditional. That's kind of crazy. So we had a bad stretch up to here, but now suddenly we just get 3 massive hits in a row, the 3 best ones we've had so far. Now we got a complete dud, which does definitely need to happen after this filthy luck. And then we have this one, which is 2 complete duds in a row. I can live with that. And 3 complete duds in a row. So, okay. There's this idea that some people have that luck is streaky. That isn't true, but it certainly feels like we got some evidence for that hypothesis here, because we got the best 3 we've had all day, followed by 3 complete and utter bricks. Still, I'm very, very, very happy to see what we got there. And this is going to definitely pay for the roughly 120 divines worth of divination cards that we put into this little video. Durations and minions, again, this is the second time we've had this combination. It's a strong combination. It has potential. Not really quite on the meta, but again, very flexible colors. Not that that matters so much anymore. Duration trap on mine. This should work with something. I'm just trying to think if seismic trap works with this or not. Actually, I'm right at the right vendor to find out, actually. So let's just go. That's seismic cry. We don't want that. We want seismic trap. This is duration. This is trap. Okay, so this was super meta once. It's still a very functional skill. It's just not as meta as it used to be. This is something you could definitely use in conjunction with it. And honestly, maybe this is the inspiration I've been looking for a second build this league. So I will definitely keep this one in mind because there's just a lot of power there. And again, there's no red gem and it doesn't matter because I can still run an Empower 4. Or if I decide to splash around a lot of lot currency, I could run an Empower 5 in there. And it will still get the +1. It will still be able to be used in there because of the changes that have been made to the way that gem sockets work. So let's get back to turning in the rest of these. AoE and Aura again. Again, that is fairly strong for certain mine setups. Wow, another massive one. This is like all very solid in a row. We're back to having a good hot streak at the moment. Well, there goes. That's not quite a hot streak. But so these two are nothing much, but these four were all very good. And again, we're going to just move these around and just try and say some of these actually do have +2 to a useful thing, I think. Yeah, let's just move the single corrupted ones over here, the effectively single corrupt ones, and then we will fix up some of the mess that we've got down here currently. So that one's a single corrupt. That one, Warcries, is not a single corrupt. That's just a brick. It's a brick. That one's double defense, double defense. Yeah, okay, cool. So that's what we're looking for. Now this one is a single corrupt effectively. This one here is a single corrupt effectively. And these down here are the other big hits that we've got. And after this, we can now just move some of these bad ones into a spot where they'll actually stay in place. And that will all make everything fit together a bit better. Good old inventory Tetris. One thing that's interesting is you'll notice we're getting as many good ones as we're getting complete trash ones. And that's actually to be expected because there are quite a lot of good corruptions that are available. And that's a double dud. That one has minions, so it's a single. That one is curses, which I think are quite hard to get any benefit out of, but it's not a complete brick. That one's again a single. This one is effectively a single, but at the better end of the singles, because that 50% reduced damage is one of the best corruptions, and that's another one that's got a very solid... It's got a very solid second mod on it, even though it is effectively just a single corruption that matters. So no extraordinary ones here, but plenty of solid ones. We will drop these all over here, and then we'll get to the second last batch. At which point, let's put that back into its spot. Not quite its right spot, that's its right spot there. And now we can turn these ones in and see how we go. Curses again, just single relevant corruption. Single relevant corruption. Is that the same mods? Yeah, it is. It's the same explicit same implicit modifiers on these two, although they're quite different in terms of their gem sockets. Duration gems, again, though, it's only a single corrupt that matters. Projectile and Warcry, unfortunately, is only a single corruption. It sounds like two, but there's just not much use for the Warcry mod. Curse and Warcry is either a single or a complete dud, and that one is a complete dud. So we will go and put away this one with the bricks. And if we can actually put them into their correct spots, that would help. And then we'll put all of these ones in with the single effective corruptions. And then we shall grab our very, very last ones out. Something I think is worth mentioning here is that any of these is essentially is essentially a double corrupted tabula, because it's got +1 to the level of socketed gems, which is something that would be fine as an implicit corruption on a tabula. But then on top of that, you've also got something else that's meaningful, like +2 auras. That's a double brick. AoEs. Here we go, another massive one. +1 socketed gems, +2 to level of trap and mine gems. That's another massive, massive hit. And this one here is a complete brick, which is what we deserve after getting that last filthy one. And this one here is projectiles and curses. No real synergy there. It's going to be one or the other that's useful to you. And, oh, this one's tricky to assess. Curses are quite hard to get any benefit out of scaling. I'm going to mark this in as one of the potential better ones, but I'm not sure whether it is or not. That's one that we'll have to see, just like whether it sells or not. I don't think it will, but we'll find out. Again, I don't like pricing things low if they've got good potential. It's better to price them too high and not sell them than to price them too low and then curse yourself because you've gotten rid of one of your best drops that you'll get all league for a song. Okay, so let's take a look at the overall numbers that we've got here. So we have 15 that are complete and utter rubbish. These are trash with a capital T. These are the ones that have no meaningful implicits. They're still better than Tabula Rasa because they've got that +1 and the 100% global defenses and a couple other things on them. But these are dumpster tier. Basically, these are the ones that you're sad to see. These are the ones you're very happy to see. We have +1 socketed unconditional alongside +2 trap and mine, +2 curse, maybe a bit more marginal, +2 AoE, +2 AoE and aura, which is quite niche, but there are definitely a few things like pyroclast mines that double up on that. Duration, trap and mines, again, seismic trap definitely works. There will be others. Duration and minions, I think we got 3 of those. That's summon skeletons, there's a bunch of other things. +1 unconditional, trap and mine again. +1 unconditional, +2 socketed projectile. This is one of the best. +1 unconditional, +2 auras. And then we have duration and curse, which maybe should actually be up the top section instead. Duration and minion again, and AoE and aura, which definitely has its uses. So everything down here, with possibly one exception, is very, very solid. And then up here we have the things that are in between. These are essentially good double corrupted tabulas. They're a bit better than a perfect double corrupted tabula, but tabula is a terrible item, so slightly better than a double corrupted perfect tabula isn't so hot. I have been trading for these at approximately 0.4 divine orbs per card most of the time. So sometimes I've been paying more than that, sometimes as much as 0.55 divines. I traded into 288 cards, so that cost me 120 div. I'm definitely very confident I will make much more than that back, and that this divination card is just fundamentally undervalued in trade. I feel like I should probably finish this video with an overview of what has sold so far. So I recorded this something like 8 hours ago, and since then I have been doing a bunch of stuff, including editing this video, but mostly doing other stuff. During this period, you will see that one of the medium to big ticket items has sold. This was this Skin of the Loyal that was listed for 23 div, +1 unconditional gems, +2 AoE gems. So that one moved. And on top of that, we had one other that was a low but not bottom tier one, +1 unconditional with a bad second implicit. That one sold for 3 div. Then lots and lots of them sold for 175C. This is just me undercutting listings that are listed at 1 divine. There are a lot of Skins of the Loyal listed at 1 divine. So the really bad ones, they just get listed at 175C. For example, +2 Warcries with a 6% ES. For example, this one's actually not so bad. It's at the 50% reduced extra damage from critical strikes mod. I really do like that implicit, but it's not something people tend to look for that much, so it doesn't usually add any value unless it's alongside a premium other corrupt. Anyways, that one sold. Almost everything that I listed in the bargain basement has sold. Almost none of the ones that I've listed at 3 div have sold, and I still have plenty of good stuff left. I'm confident that eventually more of these will sell, and I will end up recouping not just the 120 div that I spent, but probably an extra 50 or 60, and that's without any individually massive hits. The individually massive hit I did get off stream, so that was not in this video. That was when I got +1 unconditional +2 minions. That was several days ago, and that one sold for 137 div. So that's this one here. That was a very lucky outcome. I think this might actually be the very best you can get. So I had this as my very first one, and then the 72 I've done in this video didn't replicate this, but it's not super rare to get exactly this. I think it's something like 1 in 100. something around that sort of range in order to get exactly this combination. And then you've got a lot of things in between that are not quite 100 div, but that are definitely worth your while. So a lot of fun turning these in. I'll make my currency back unless, of course, the market on these changes. I'm going to leave it there, though. May your Val Orbs have interesting results, and do remember about the BPL Private League event. I'll put a link to it down in the description below. Check out BPL's website, see if it sounds like it'll be fun for you, and if it is, then you know what to do. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have time to play in it myself, but that shouldn't mean that you don't go along if it sounds like it'll be fun.